you going? What are you drinking tonight? Let's keep 'em flowing. Where do you come from? Where are you going? What are you feeling tonight? And what are you showing? Where do you come from? 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 Where are you going? What are you drinking tonight? Let's keep 'em flowing.
Hello and good morning. We are the Super PlayStation Bros, and you're with us talking everything PlayStation this week. Thanks everybody for coming out and joining us. If you're catching us on the VOD, hello. Hope you're doing well. I am Rudigs, and this is the co-host Doragon joining me over here. And we together make the Super PlayStation Bros. So let's get into everything PlayStation this week because we got a lot to cover. Twisted Metal is canceled. That is extremely sad. Hey, you could possibly win a free PlayStation Portal, so stay tuned for details on that one. Plus, a leaked PS Plus game brings its way into fist fighting action. So check out which game you're going to get for March. But let's get jumping into what's new in PlayStation this week. Wait. I'm getting ahead of myself. Dorgon, what have you been playing?
I'm waiting.
What have you been playing?
I'm waiting.
I'm excited for all the news. I jumped the gun.
There's a lot to get through. It's been a busy week. We had a busy week last week, didn't we? Because we'd had the week before off, so there was a lot to go through. But none of it was as seismic as we're going to be talking today. So yeah, I can understand your enthusiasm, your excitement. But we have been playing. I've been playing quite a bit of VR. A game we talked about last week called Beat the Beats with the big furry, colourful thing. That one actually launched yesterday, so I've been playing a bit of that, and it's quite a bit more difficult than I thought it was going to be. It's less forgiving than other rhythm games I've played, so I'm quite enjoying myself with that one. I've also been trying to get through the VR roguelike that I've got, which is called Before You Fall. So you're physically fighting with swords and axes and such, and you've got superpowers and upgrades on every run. So I've been trying to get through that one. More flat screen stuff. It's been the Tomb Raider Remastered trilogy. I've been really enjoying that one. Killed a Tyrannosaurus last night, which on modern controls is so much harder than it is on the old controls. But I do like that you can flip between the two for certain areas, especially things like platforming sections. They were built for the old controls. So really been enjoying that particular one. Yeah, I've been having a really busy gaming week. I've got one song closer to my Beat Saber Platinum, that mission that I set myself at the start of the year. There's been a bit of Helldivers in there with yourself and David Wilson, who might be in chat a little bit later. Been a packed week for gaming. It's been nice to get that sort of amount of time in. But I've waffled on long enough. What about yourself? I know you've done a huge achievement in the last week since we were last on air.
Oh, yes. I was able to smash out, that's right. Let me bring it up here. The Platinum. Oh ho ho. For Helldivers 2. It was a lot of fun getting this Platinum. There's a lot of achievements that just make you do hilarious, funny things. Dropping 6 orbitals in one place, and then we just sat there and saluted as our inevitable doom came towards us. escaping in a mission on extreme with only 6 minutes to complete all the objectives. That's the mission you see right here. I'm completing and flying off on. Just had a lot of fun with a bunch of people getting in, enjoying the game, the co-op aspect, getting in with the community. Actually pulled someone from the LFG on the Helldivers, came in, helped us out, taught us a bit too. There's mortar farming now that people are just increasing their levels, and there's sample farming. These actual acts are actually hurting democracy and liberty on a global scale. And what happened is, yeah, we lost Milson Creek. Sorry, it's called
We did.
Malvern Creek or something like that. But the actual planet was
Based
lost
Vietnam,
to
yeah.
the automatons. And the community failed because they were too busy farming. It's
Yep.
funny to see.
It's a situation, man, and we've got to whip these undemocratic people into shape and get them back on the mission of liberty. And if they're not, we pour some liver coffee upon them to make them spring into action.
Yes. And of course, Phoenix, I will be more than happy to serve democracy and get anyone a bunch of trophies because they are a lot of fun. There's one where you got to find a grenade and you have to have a jetpack and you have to fly over the grenade as it explodes so you can get that ragdoll effect 25 feet in the air. It's a hilarious
Wow.
trophy.
It's such a fun
Other
game,
than
and I love
that,
that the trophies are weird. It's great.
yeah. Other than that, playing the demo and getting ready for the game that is going to drop tomorrow, that is Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. There was articles stating, "Oh, this demo was too difficult. It was very hard." And I was actually a little bit caught back because I mean, I maybe tried a couple times, but I was able to get the Mysteria I needed. There's some new combo Mysterias, and I was able to use that on the flying fish monster. Now, I will say, stop giving me flying monsters if I have a freaking sword. Okay? I need monsters to be on the ground if I have a sword. I
On
just
the sword.
I don't understand. And I don't get the physics of like how Cloud just sometimes jumps up into the air and slices a thing. All I'm saying is I feel like the flighting fights, like the fights that you did against flying monsters worked better in a turn-based aspect than
Yes,
live
very
action.
much so. Yeah, but if you're doing a remake, you can't exactly leave out some of the biggest bosses now, can you? It would be a bit unremakey, but I get what you're saying. Although he's got a giant sword in the Buster Sword, he should just be able to, swing that and chop something a couple of miles in the air, sort of thing.
I agree. But those are the two games I've been paying attention to this week and into the next week. So looking forward to a leap year game dropping. And did you see the reviews for Final Fantasy 93, which I think is
93% on Metacritic, yeah.
one of the best performing Final Fantasies for Square Enix.
They've always done well. Final Fantasy has always been good for Square. Even like last year's 16 didn't review badly. It was in the 80s, which is still classified as a hit by most companies. But yeah, obviously
Yes.
there's a bit of a nostalgia about this one, but also honoring that nostalgia. And if they've done that well and made it work for what we're aware of in this modern world, it sounds like they've done an absolutely bang up job. So well done, Square and Co. working on that one.
Exactly. But let's get into now some news because we've got a lot of news to cover this week. Everybody, we are going to keep you up to date on. Whoa, if Rudix is questioning Cloud's Buster Sword game, good luck for meeting Cat Sith and his giant realistic robot. Okay, is that a robot? I don't even understand the physics of that creature that Cat Sith
But
has,
don't
let
worry, you'll
alone a
find out
talking
tomorrow.
cat. Yeah, I
You'll
guess
find out
so.
tomorrow. Don't worry about it.
Well, let's take a look at what's going on with PlayStation. The first thing I said was, uh-oh, PlayStation's introducing a new security function. But don't worry, because I am now more educated on the passkey system, and I've now come to think that this is actually a very secure way of doing things. Um, it is awesome to see. It's going to make logging in a lot faster. My one recommendation is do this on mobile. Do not do it on your PC because I hate freaking having to go to my browser now to do my passkey when I should have just done it on my mobile phone.
Yeah, because I just put in my fingerprint and I'm logged in. It is a great update, as you're saying. There's a lot of places that do passkey logins. Your Google account does it, for example. Your Apple ID does it, for example. Your Microsoft account does it. These passkeys are great as long as it's a piece of hardware that you're unlikely to lose, or it's attached to an account that is easily like returned to you, like say a Google or Apple ID. So I think it's great. I've just set my Google Assistant off. I do apologize. Uh, I think it's a great security feature. It's quicker, it's easier, it is more secure because it needs your biometrics, it needs your fingerprint, it needs your 3D face unlock, whatever the case may be. And I used it to log into every single PlayStation device that I have in the space of 3 minutes yesterday. And that's quite a few PlayStation devices. So absolutely cracking. Really appreciate this update. It's just easier and better, and especially for new equipment moving forward as well.
Yes, I just need to figure out how to switch it now from my browser to my mobile phone, and then it'll be easier for me. But that is awesome to see. Great for PlayStation, introducing things that make gaming, quality of life things just a little bit easier. Hey, speaking of easier, the PlayStation is in your hands with the PlayStation Portal, and it is more popular than ever. Now, listen, I want to rewind back to some older PlayStation shows where everyone was like, oh, Rudix, this is an ugly device. No, this is a sexy device, and this is selling like gangbusters. Yeah, it's sexy. That's right.
It's very ergonomic. I love the feel in
Yes.
hand, and we've all seen how popular handheld gaming is, and it's the freedom to be able to game whenever you fancy. So I could pick this up and start gaming whilst my partner is already playing the Switch on the TV, for example, or sitting playing the Switch as well. I could even play while she's just watching TV, whatever the case may be. If my main living room television, which is where my PlayStation 5 is plugged in, is in use, this could be used. My challenges are it doesn't work well enough. It's oversold for how good it actually is because it wouldn't classify as good in my book. But that option, that opportunity, and for certain games, especially your more turn-based type games, it's fantastic. You don't notice any of the problems that come with streaming a game over an internet connection, over certain ISPs and hardware like the ISP provided router and what have you. There are a lot of very good things about this, and like I say, the ergonomics of this, I've been using it as a controller actually, because I prefer the teeny tiny thumbsticks. It sounds a bit weird, but they're smaller on this than the DualSense, so I just sit there using this as a controller for the PlayStation, so I'm just watching the main TV and just using this because I prefer the feel of it. But it's one of those. I understand the appeal of it. I think a lot of them are getting returned. I think a lot of them might be sitting gathering dust after many months because they just don't work well enough. But Sony are obviously getting people through the door. The marketing's working. People want a handheld PlayStation, and they're clamoring for them at the moment.
And this is the part of the show where I let you know how you can obtain a free PlayStation Portal. That's right. There is a contest happening right now on Cloud Dosage. You got to get onto Threads. You got to get onto Cloud Dosage. Make sure you check out this post. They are just asking, simply let us know what you love most about gaming. Closes 12 p.m. March 2nd. There will be a draw for randomness. So, hey, make sure to enter. Throw why you love gaming in here, and you may as well put your hat in the ring. It's a free PlayStation Portal. So, cheers. Here you go. And you're welcome, world, and who's ever listening, because this is your opportunity. It is the sexiest
Cheersing
handheld.
with a portal is problematic. Hang on, here we go.
The
cheers.
sexiest handheld. Sanchez Gaming in the house.
Sanchez! To answer Miss Phoenix question in chat saying, Duragon, after having it since November, what is your out of 10 rating for the Portal? My personal
Oh.
rating would be a 2 at the moment. 2 out of 10.
Sacre bleu. This is Super PlayStation Bros, all right? We can't give anything under a 5. No, that's an honest
It's an
opinion.
upside down 5. There you go. How's that for you?
Honest opinion.
Yeah,
Hey, that's a
it just
great
doesn't do
question
what
as
it's
well.
advertised to.
Sanchez Gaming
Go ahead.
asks, do I need a PS5 to use a Portal? The answer is yes. You need a PS5 for the Portal. Essentially, it is a remote play device with a controller slapped onto it. So you do need the PS5 as your home base. And this is like your little scout. Yes, Dorgon is building a PS Portal right now.
There you go.
With his
I've
backbone.
got 2. Hey! But yeah, you do need a PS5. It's remote play only. I wish it weren't, and they have said words saying that cloud gaming might be coming to it in the future, but never buy a product on the promise of future updates. Buy it on what it does at that precise moment in time. So if you do not have a PlayStation 5, the Portal is a pointless investment.
Yeah. But if you're curious at all at using the device, you have excellent internet, and you really think this device could work for you because you have a PS5 in your house and you're just not always in front of it, pick it up, see how it does for you, and this is a way to obtain it for free. So may as well throw your hat in the ring, right? Again, that is Cloud Dosage on Threads, and there's only 30 replies, and the contest closes in 3 days. So get your responses in.
I don't think I need 2, so I'll stay out of this one.
Yeah, but here's how it works. If you enter and then you win, you just send it to me.
There is that. I might enter for your sake. Yeah, fair play.
Well, we have some leaks coming up, and yes, I was a little confused before the show. I kind of told Dorgon that some amazing lineup was coming, but I believe only one of these leaks is like somewhat confirmed. So we're comfortable saying Sifu is leaked for March this week for PlayStation Plus Essentials. There was some other ones, possibly Sonic Frontiers, possibly Forspoken. Those were also on the list. But right now we're hearing of Sifu, and as tradition goes, about 20 to 30 minutes after the show, we'll get all the information.
Oh, yeah. It happened again last week. 20 minutes after the show, there was a big news drop. We're going to get it this week. We'll get the PS Plus Essential games after the show ends. It'll be a nice big drop. This is how Super PlayStation Brothers goes. We bring you all of the news from the last week, and then they drop a big bunch of new stuff the moment we finish, just to make us look completely silly.
All right, Wibble. I'm the one wearing the shirt that says Super PlayStation Bros. All right, Dorgon's gonna send it to me.
I can walk to Wibbles though. I can walk to his house and just hand it over to him. You know, there's pros and cons to both sides of that.
I see how it is. Wibble. You're out there on the 4090. You don't need a portal.
Touche.
Well, hey, it's cool to see. I look forward to Sifu. Have you had any experience with the game? I've heard that it's actually extremely fun. It was nominated for a fighting game. What it does is novel compared to other fighting games, and a 2018 release that was received exceptionally well.
It was a great game. What was it? 2018?
Yeah.
Oh my god, that feels like last year that came out. Holy crap. It's one of those games that I've always wanted to get into. I've always wanted to play, but I've never had either the memory or the money at the right time to actually buy it.
No.
So this coming to Plus
2022.
Go on.
Nope, I'm 100% wrong. That's when it was
Okay.
released,
Okay,
2022.
2022. That feels a bit better. I don't feel quite as old now. Uh, Still, it's one of those games I really want to play. I've watched a few friends play it. People like Massively Gaming have played it on stream. Jim Servo have played it on stream, and they were having a great time. It's incredibly difficult. It's one of those games you've got to get your counter timing right. You've got to get your attack timing right, and the way that your failure is attributed to the game, you get older, and if you get too old, you die, and you can't make it to the end of the game, and so on and so forth. It's a very interesting set of mechanics. It's one that has always taken my fancy. I've just never personally got round to it for one reason or another. So I am very much looking forward to getting Sifu, if Sifu is definitely part of the PlayStation Plus catalog for Essential members in March. All leaks say it will be. We just have to wait and see, probably 20 minutes after the show ends, as to what the others are. But it's, by the sounds of things, it's going to be a bit of a stacked month.
It looks to me as you die, you also age. That's crazy.
Yes, yeah,
That's
100%. So you die, you age, and if you get too old, you can't make it to the end of the game because you age between stages as well. I think there's only 6 stages to get through. And if you get too old in stage 1, you can't make it past stage 3, and so on and so forth. It's a very
wow.
interesting set of mechanics. So
That
you've got to
is
get
pretty cool.
really good at the game.
Oh wow. Well, I look forward to it. A 2022 release received exceptionally well. And yeah, I hope it does come because that is what I'm looking forward to. But let's hit the somber notes now as we get into the the news that Sanchez brought up in chat. Sony is
That Miss
laying
Phoenix
off.
is now responding to, yeah.
Yeah. Sony is now laying off 900 PlayStation employees. Sony's PlayStation London studio is closing down as a part of the layoffs. Um, this is not great to see. We see about 8% of Sony's layoffs will impact a variety of PlayStation studios. Insomniac Games, Naughty Dog, Gorilla, and Firesprite are a part of that list. We obviously see hits on PSVR2. I mean, the list goes on. What are your initial thoughts hearing this one?
When the news first dropped yesterday, my initial thoughts were essentially "F you, Sony." It felt like the latest in a long list of corporate overlords just wanting to make more and more money. But since that point, I've read a lot more into it, looked at PlayStation's operating turnover and what have you, and unfortunately realized that this is something that maybe had to happen. I do think there were other steps and things that could have been done before this point, but with how PlayStation have been operating, it did feel a little bit like an eventuality whilst I was reading more into this. So last year, PlayStation had operating revenue of $10.2 billion US. And that sounds like a lot of money, $10.2 billion. But of that, only 600 million was profit. So they spent a year only taking 6% profits. That means if they had £100, they would only take £6 as profit. That is 94% of that money is going back into PlayStation. They are spending it on PlayStation, whether that is on studio acquisitions, whether that's on technology upgrades, whether that's on new device launches, marketing, game development, whatever the case may be. They took 10.2 billion and spent 9.6 or 9.8 billion to just operate PlayStation last year. It's a very difficult situation to then try and rein that in, hone that back in, streamline the process, and actually come to a good level of operation, because at 6% profits, you are one bad day away from going under. So if they launched 2 or 3 bad games back to back, that would be all profit margins completely eaten up just in operational costs. So I do understand that something had to change, that something had to happen. I do think the level of what has been done is a bit excessive, and there were other steps that could be taken before getting to the point of laying off nearly 1,000 people, because that's 1,000 people who no longer have livelihoods. That's 1,000 people who had job security yesterday but don't have it today. And London studio is a really difficult one because we do have workers' rights here in the UK. They're not brilliant, don't get me wrong, but they've now got 30 days to try and find another job, or they're like reneging on mortgage payments and stuff, which means they could be homeless in 2 months. So it's a very, very, very difficult situation. I do think they could have gone the Nintendo route, because neither Jim Ryan nor Hiroki Totoki took pay cuts here. They could have taken a 50% pay cut each and kept all of those members of staff on board whilst streamlining what they do elsewhere, because they're also looking at how they make games, making that process more efficient and cheaper and all that sort of stuff. And it feels terrible because these are 900 people from some of the best studios in the world. Even Insomniac were hit. And PlayStation would not be where they are in this generation without Insomniac games. They have launched 4 games in 4 years on that console. Nobody else has done that. We haven't even had a single new game from Naughty Dog on that console in that time. So I get it from a business perspective, but I feel like they jumped the gun and went to this a lot quicker than they needed to. There were other things that could have been done first to protect these people's jobs. So it feels a little bit dirty and self-fulfilling for members at the top of the pyramid a little bit. But that's my initial, and then reading into it a little bit more. What about you? I mean,
my perspective on this is we're again caught up in a gambling type economy, gambling adjacent economy, where we saw major spikes in gaming when it came to COVID and everyone was locked in and locked down. People should have recognized this, and this wasn't going to be a forever trend. Except people make presentations to grow their business based on numbers that were only temporary. And now that we see a world where people are going outside, they're not locked down anymore. There are a myriad of things that they're spending their cash on because they're not in the same circumstances as they were before. And now they have to downsize to what they originally were performing at before. And so it's just this odd gambling adjacent economy. And it messes with people's lives because they're not just numbers on a piece of paper. And people really need to revamp the way they're thinking. CEO, take 50% cut like Nintendo, like you're saying. I mean, this is sad to see, and I feel like a lot of people are just victims of how this world works, and I'm sad to see it. Sad to see.
yeah, it's a massive impact, and it's not just a huge impact for the 900 people who've been laid off. It's hit people all around the globe, so it's not just in the UK and in America. Naughty Dog is a Canadian company, so it's hit Canada. It's also hit Japan and I believe Singapore and a bunch of other places. It's done a lot of terrible things, and some of that is games are going to disappear. London studio were working on a new AAA multiplayer game. These are the guys who brought us iPet. These are the guys who brought us SingStar, some of the best party multiplayer games that were on the PlayStation 2 through 4. They worked on hardware and software and were absolutely fantastic in that. These are the guys who brought so many huge franchises like EA Football to the PlayStation Portable. They were a fantastic company. They've been around for 22 years at this point. They set up in 2002, and they've been dumped with like no ceremony at all. Like 5 days ago, Jim Ryan was in London studio having photos taken with the development teams. He knew then that this was happening, and he was there happy, smiling, taking home millions upon millions of pounds per year for his paycheck, knowing that these people might not have food on the table in a month. And that sickens me to my stomach, that sort of action when they're saying all the right things, all the words that they said in the press release and what have you sounded right. We're disheartened. We're losing amazingly talented members of staff. It's going to be hard for them. It's going to be hard for everybody else. We're putting things in place to help them try and find new employment and all this sort of stuff. But then laughing and smiling with guys who you know you're not going to be employing in a month and acting like nothing's wrong, it feels so dirty. But we've lost this game. We've lost what sounds like a Twisted Metal game, and probably a bunch of
Yes,
others. We've obviously lost the.
which
Go
Phoenix
ahead.
makes a great point. They recently released the live action Twisted Metal. Anthony Mackie, I believe his name is, was star of it. Will Arnett as Sweet Tooth. I mean, I personally loved all the nostalgia, all the fun that came with Twisted Metal. They released the old ones on PS Plus during the live action debut, and I was back in and I was playing that as well. I have to say, I was pumped for a new Twisted Metal game. I really thought something on the new console. We were kind of missing this genre in a new revamped space of just motor derby explosion rockets. But no, it is canceled, and this one hurts. This one hurts. I said no about 5 times out loud when I first heard about this, and yeah, this is uh this is collateral damage to a gambling adjacent economy, and this is not something I would have taken off the table. I would have thought this would have been something to hold on to, a console mover, a seller, something that's exciting. But they thought they could scrap it. I just don't understand, and it hurts.
You could have had cross media promotion. So we've got season 2 of Twisted Metal TV show coming up. It was received really well. Many people outside of gaming actually watched it as well. If you've then got a game for them to go and play, having that just advertised at the end of the credits or something each week, people are going to start taking more of an interest in it. They've lost a really positive forward momentum with that one. But it's something Herman Holst said, and he is the PlayStation Studios head, so he overlooks every studio. He used to be the head of Guerrilla Studios. When they launched Horizon Zero Dawn, he sort of got promoted, moved up the ladder a little bit to overlook everybody. And he's like, it's unsustainable what we're doing. We still want to deliver these experiences. We still need to give people what they bought into the ecosystem for, so these amazing, high quality single player experiences. But as people in chat have been saying, when you're spending 300 million per game, if they don't sell 10 million plus copies, you're losing money on them. And that was on a sequel. That was a $300 million sequel, which was more than Sony paid to buy Insomniac in the first place. So there has to be wholesale change in the way that they're doing things. They need to make games for cheaper. I personally don't think we need these hyper-realistic graphics. Realistic graphics are more than enough, I feel. Especially if the gameplay is ultra solid. I would be happy for some more stylized graphics with solid underpinning gameplay, which can be churned out quicker. I would be happy for smaller games, bigger games. Like, we seem to be getting all the same all the time, and it's obviously not keeping the coffers turning over for Sony with how expensive making that sort of game currently is. We saw with God of War Ragnarok's DLC Valhalla that you can do something smaller and it have success. If they'd released that as a standalone title for £10 or £20, people would have bought that so quickly because so much of it was so good, and they'd have been in massive profit because they were just using assets from the existing games. They were just putting them in a different order. So something obviously has to change in the way that they're making games. But again, we're coming back to, there's a lot of people at the bottom suffering for misjudgments and terrible decisions made by those at the top. And I feel like it should be those who are responsible for the terrible situation that PlayStation Studios and PlayStation as a whole find themselves in that are paying the price for this situation. Jim Ryan's obviously paying it. He's out of the business next month. He's not going to be in video games ever again by the sounds of things. But Hiroki Totoki, who's in charge of things now, he's not taking any flack. Herman Holst isn't taking any flack. They're not taking any pay cuts. They're not taking any hatred or anything. They're just dishing it out to other people, and it's sickening. I work in a huge corporation. I understand that people are treated as numbers because I'm just treated as a number despite my knowledge, expertise, and skill set. And I know this could happen to me any day, and it's almost like I have a second-hand depression and fear for these people, and
Yeah.
I
Because
could
they're
go on
so
for a lot
close.
longer, but yeah,
You
it's
feel
so close
like
to
you
home.
know them because you spend so much time playing their products, right? And they become
So much time playing
close.
their products. In the case of Studio London, one of the locations that we work out of, if we're going into offices, it's around the corner from them. I know exactly where that studio is. I don't know any of them personally, but it's something like you personally see, you understand. It's like when your favorite coffee shop closes down. You don't know any of those people personally, but you feel that loss yourself because you've lost these people that you see on a daily basis, and you've lost this place that was so warm and comforting. And that's what many of these things, that's what this whole situation feels like. It feels like a loss, like a friendship has ended, or a person has left your life forever, sort of thing. It's very disheartening, very hard to talk about and be
Yeah,
positive about
and
PlayStation this week.
this is the problem with PlayStation right now, right? And as Maker brings up, this along with Japan's studio getting merged into Asobo and the cuts to Media Molecule were also things I wasn't a fan as shifts at PlayStation. So that is sad to see. But hey, as we know, PlayStation will continue. We'll still be getting games. Spider-Man's going to come out again. Wolverine's down the pipeline. So even though there are shifts, I think they were just, you know, growing pains from big predictions made when the numbers were high. And now we're just coming back to reality. Unfortunately, people were put in the way there. But let's move on before we run out of time to something a bit happier. Unless, sorry, you'd like to close it out on anything? I think we've almost nailed this one done.
I think just an overarching statement of do better, Sony. Management need to do better. You've obviously been failing for the company to end up in this position where you're only taking 6% profit. Do not take it out on the people who make that whole ecosystem actually possible and work. It's a management problem. Sort it out.
Agreed. But hey, it's not all bad news because if you're looking forward to Rise of the Ronin, there's 4-player co-op.
Woo!
So
Sorry, I've
it
got to try and pick
seems
myself
like
back up for this now.
yes, we're flipping the script here. Turn that frown upside down. So this was in the FAQs. If you open it up, it does explain that there is no PvP, but there is online co-op, which includes main story missions, and up to 3 others can experience it with you. So unlike Dragon's Dogma 2 coming out on the exact same day, one features co-op and one does not. I don't know. For me, I'll probably lean more towards the co-op and the samurai. But yeah, this is a nice surprise to have because I know there was some questions surrounding whether or not this game would have co-op or not.
Yeah, it seemed like it would from a couple of trailers, but it was like a couple of moments in there. There was nothing confirmed. There was no real hardcore gameplay with it or anything. It was just there were 4 samurais here and there on the odd occasion, and it's like, oh, that could just be story moments. Is it co-op? Could be co-op. It's nice to have it confirmed. It's a little bit odd to me that Dragon's Dogma, this team-based magic monster hunter type thing, doesn't have 4-player co-op. But this lone Ronin samurai game
Yeah.
does have
Yeah, there
co-op.
the
They
story
got
is
those
built
backwards
for
up here.
one, yeah.
Mad. Yeah, a little bit odd that one, but yeah, it's good to have. I'm looking forward to it. I like samurai games. I like Team Ninja games. I'm hoping this one plays incredibly well. It looks brilliant. I don't know if it's one of those that I'm able to get on payday. Not payday, on release day. Depends when payday is, but it's one I will be diving into at some point. Definitely.
Now, SPG asked a question in chat. He showed me this game the other day. I just want to address it because I did a little looking because I was actually curious. There's this game called Kingmakers, and he asked, "Oh, do you think it'll come to PlayStation?" And I just did a little tiny look here in the background. So it was published by people called Tiny Maker, and they actually publish Hello Neighbor, Pigeon Simulator. So there is a chance that this game could be coming to the PlayStation 5 later this year. It looks absolutely hilarious if you're watching what's happening in screen. Essentially, you go back in time to medieval times with a gun and cars and stuff, and you mow through fields of knights with a pickup truck. You have a grenade launcher, and you're just like blasting these people. It's a concept which to me is really cool. Like I never even thought of these two genres combining, but you must feel like an absolute god in this, like having a machine gun while everyone's got swords.
I imagine there's a lot of pros and cons to it. It looks interesting. The guys who make it, Little Maker, they make fantastic games. They do just tend to come to PlayStation quite a lot later than other platforms. It tends to be PC, then Switch, then the other ones who are left. I think that's how they treat the gaming landscape. So we're in that other ones who are left. So maybe a year or two down the line, sort of thing.
But I
But
I
yeah, this
love
looks
the
great.
feel of it. And in the end, he kind of goes to the future as well. And it's just a guy with a machine gun on a horse killing a knight. Like it's a cool concept. I love the concept. Thanks for sharing, SPG. But hopefully we do see that release on the console platform. However, it's slated to release for PC later this year in 2024. But if you're part of the UK, you could be owed over 500 Harry Potter dollars.
You
Sorry.
did not just say that out loud. You...
Yeah, my wife just yelled at me for saying that.
I think, well done, wife. Thank you. I'm glad she's on my side on this one.
Because I always hear them
Oh.
refer to this money as quid or something like that. It just sounds like Harry Potter money to me.
It's
PlayStation
the same
owners,
as a book. It's just a nickname for the money.
yeah. I don't know what. Yeah, I don't call things bucks though. I don't know.
Many people in your neck of the woods, in the Americas, in the Australias and New Zealands, call a dollar a buck. So it is a worldwide nickname for such monetary value. A quid is just a nickname for a pound, or as you call it, Harry Potter dollars. I don't think you could have offended more fandoms or people if you tried with that statement.
Well, you can get over 500. We'll just call it HPD, Harry Potter dollars.
I'm not winning this one, am I?
Well, hey, I give it up to the British community for going against PlayStation and winning. The claim is for British citizens who owned a PlayStation console between August 19th, 2016 and August 19th, 2022. So you're a part of that group. You could get a payout for anywhere from 67 to 562 HPD. So be sure to check that out and find out how you can be a part of this class action suit. Are you going to take part in this?
So it's an opt-out class action suit. So if you are a PlayStation owner in the UK or owned a PlayStation of any variety that
You don't
was
have to do
current and
anything.
working between 2016 and 2022, you don't have to do anything. If this suit wins, and the likelihood is it probably will, judging on what's been happening with the likes of Google, Apple, Epic, and Co. elsewhere in the world, you will automatically get that payout. The argument is that Sony monopolized how you can purchase digital titles upon their platform, whereas that's completely not monopolized on PC, and it's semi-monopolized, but it's a bit more squiffy with Microsoft because you've got the Xbox Store, and the Xbox Store on 3 different platforms, 3 different ways of doing it, 3 different sets of pricing and such. So, but the only way to get the digital ones for Sony is through the PlayStation Store, and the argument is that only 1% of gamers are going to know about places like CD keys, which sell you game codes much cheaper than you get them on this PlayStation Store and what have you. So that monopolization means you get monopolistic prices, and we all know PlayStation Store prices are higher than anywhere else you try to buy a game or DLC or whatever the case may be. And if you owned a PlayStation and this suit wins, you will be getting a refund of X amount of pounds, depending how much you spent on the platform in those periods. So I'm probably personally, despite my hatred for digital only, nearer that top end of things. So that might be a nice payday.
Hey, it would be. It would be. Not going to shy at the higher end of that because I believe it's almost like double in Canadian dollars. So that's a nice chunk of change.
Give or take, yeah. Yeah, so it'd be enough to buy a PlayStation 5 Pro if that comes out this year.
Well, let's get into some PlayStation VR2 news. I'm going to move it to here because there is a lot of titles on the way to PSVR2. They are announcing coming soon 5 big titles. Are you excited for any of these in particular? None of these I have heard specifically of other than Arizona Sunshine. But hey, more VR2 content is great for the platform. Wander, what the heck? It's just like people with super soakers.
There was a lot announced. This was all done on the
Yeah.
first year anniversary of PlayStation VR2. So on the 22nd of February last week, I think it was the day after our show, PSVR2 turned 1. It's been out for a whole year now, and this was sort of a celebration. Here's a slew of new games coming your way, along with some that we had releasing on that day in between times. There's a lot of different types of game going on here. So Little Cities is a god game, kind of like City Skylines, but you are
Right.
manipulating the city with your own hands. You can get down to street level. You can do it as a god game from above and just draw on roads and such.
That's
It's a
neat.
really interesting take upon that. There's a couple of other ones. I think there's one in this series that's on the store already called Little Towns VR, which is a great fun experience. I like it's being built up into like cityscapes. There's also things like Prison Boss on there, so it's in that sort of genre of the god game where you are overlooking everything, looking down. That looks great. You've then got a zombie something VR, and as you said, Arizona Sunshine. Both are zombie shooters. They're dime a dozen on VR platforms. If you go look at, say, PC VR or the Meta Quest store, you've got so many zombie shooters that they're one of the easiest things to make that will work generally well on VR. So if people like those, that's great. They've got to do something special to beat out the likes of the ones that are already on there, because there are
Like
some
Walking
fantastic
Dead.
ones.
Yeah, with
Yeah,
huge
Walking Dead,
IP
Saints and
power.
Sinners is one of them. There's another one that whose name I forget. They're not for me personally, but yeah, you got one with super soakers and a Tommy gun and all this sort of stuff. It's cool to have more games coming to PlayStation VR2. I wish there were more big first-party titles really taking advantage of the system. But saying that, everything that I have played, even Beat the Beats, which released yesterday, is fantastic. It takes advantage of the headset rumble, of the Sense haptic controllers. It's not just a port from PC or something. It's been built with the PSVR2 in mind. And even if we just get a bunch of third-party support for VR2 moving forward, as long as it takes that sort of route where it utilizes the VR2's powerhouse systems and what have you, I'm all for it. Like these were good. It was a nice little sort of birthday gift to PSVR2 adopters and anybody looking to get into it.
Yeah. The VR space definitely needs what I think it needed was a Half-Life Alex. It needed what you're saying, that heavy hitting, big experience that needed to bring everybody in. If they had created something like Call of the Mountain, but made it even more grandeur in its presence, in its game content, then I think that would have been something to bring something in, maybe a SOCOM in VR2. I just think maybe bringing one of their big IPs and creating a full fleshed out story would have secured more people on the title. But hey, we're still
Just
yet
give
to
me a
see. They still
Spider-Man
got
game.
time to do it. Oh my God, people
Yeah,
be throwing up.
they might be throwing up, but give me a Spider-Man game where I can swing through the city. I don't even need to do anything. I don't need to save people. Don't need to fight Electro or whatever the case may be. Just let me swing through the city, and you've got a mega hit on your hands. I can guarantee that one.
Yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. People want to swing through the cities. Hey, cool to see. Like you said, a nice little birthday present for PSVR2 users. You got a bunch more content for you to play with. And speaking of more content for PSVR2 users, I believe we may have touched on this last week, but just reminding everyone, PSVR2 support is going to be coming to PC later this year. So that is awesome to see. Even
I
more
think this will
options
be
for
really good.
PSVR2 users.
Oh, why? Why did you have to go there? PC VR is great, and the PSVR 2 is one of the most, for bang for buck, it's one of the best on the planet if it could be used in more places than just the PlayStation 5. With Sony testing the PSVR 2 for PC VR, that is a mega deal. Things like your HTC Vive Pro 2s, they're still wired headsets to get the best experience out of them. They can do wireless, but you lose graphic fidelity, you lose the eye tracking, and a bunch of other stuff when you do that. So you're comparing this against £1,000 plus headsets, and this costs under 600 with a game, and you can use it on two platforms. So if you can use it on PSVR or you can use it on PC VR, I think it's going to be really good for the headset because it will sell in multiple different ways to multiple different people. And if they've got it, they might as well plug it into the PlayStation 5 and buy some games on there as well. I think it's a great move. I think it's going to do great for the hardware. I think it's going to do great for the software because if you've got support for this software on the PC side of things as well, where there are more VR players, they may as well just make the one game and release it on both platforms and take advantage of what the PSVR 2 can do with its haptics, with its feedback, with its eye tracking and foveated rendering and all that. I think this is going to be a very good move, and it could be a bit of a catalyst for PlayStation VR. I hope it's a catalyst for PlayStation VR.
Right, because as you were saying, for dollar, when compared to other PC gaming headsets, it does perform well for the dollar amount. So hopefully it'll become an option for a lot of those enthusiasts. Great to see, and I need more space in my house to play VR.
Yeah, rooms are a problem. When I can touch like both walls here,
Yeah.
you gotta find a space.
Let's quick fire through some news before I have a juicy last story. Well, at least I think it's juicy because it's the first time I've heard of it. But we have Sea of Thieves on PS5 is rumored to have a link to a Microsoft account. So logging into your Microsoft account will enable cross-platform friend invitations, crew voice chats, proximity chats, and progression. So awesome to see that there is some sort of cross save, cross progression entering the universe there.
For those of
Do
us
you have
who've
any?
dived into Sea of Thieves in any way,
Yeah.
that is a great thing. I don't have a huge amount of game time, but I have enough to have kitted my pirate out how I want, kit the ship out how I want, and all that sort of stuff. So it is a huge thing to be able to bring that save data across onto your primary platform. It does depend on if the game's going to be full price or if it's going to be discounted at launch. Judging by Hi-Fi Rush, that's launching at the same price as on PC
Discounted.
and Xbox. So you're not going to be looking at any form of discounts, I don't think, and that's going to be a tough sell for Sea of Thieves initially, with it being a 2018 release. So it's all dependent on pricing, on how good this news actually is. It's great that you can bring your save data across, but if you're wanting us to pay full price again for what is a getting on for 6-year-old game at this point, bit of an ask, that one, Xbox.
I thought Hi-Fi Rush was discounted by 10% if you're a premium member.
If
Or
you're a
PS
PlayStation Plus
member.
premium member, yes, but I judge it on the base price because not everybody is. Like, essential members
Right.
won't get that price cut. Those who don't have PlayStation Plus won't get that price cut. So it is coming across to PlayStation at the exact same price as every other platform it launched on 12 months plus earlier.
Well, quick firing through some more news. Makers of Chaos's favorite game, Foam Stars, is getting a new season, Groovy Disco, and it begins on March 8th. So I believe this is, and I may be wrong, the very first season that's being added to Foam Stars, because I don't believe it came with a season. There was like some story mode, and there was a PvP element. I did play through some of Foam Stars for a couple days before Helldivers. Hey, there's nothing wrong with this game. It's plenty of fun. The foam itself is well made and well coded. I think it's a novel, unique game, and it is not Splatoon. It is much different than Splatoon in many different ways. It just looks similar. But cool stuff. Have
It's
you
just
been
weird.
getting into Foam Stars? I hearing from you there may be population issues.
That's what I found. Obviously, time zones play a part in this. I'm like 8-9 hours ahead of you. So when I'm available to play, it's probably just UK peeps and maybe a few European peeps who are like an hour or two ahead of me as well. So it's just time of day that I'm able to play. There isn't a huge population. I could be queuing for 2, 3, 4 minutes to get into a game, and sometimes it then just fails and I have to start the process again. As you say, the game is good. It's well made. It is different than Splatoon. I actually enjoy the gameplay. This just feels weird, like bringing a season less than a month after launch. It's a very odd feeling. I either launch it with the season or wait 3 months for the population to get sorted and then bring the season. I don't know why they've chosen to do it this particular way, but they have, and we are getting a season of however long that's going to be. Next week, I want to say.
Yeah,
If my
March 4th.
mathematics is correct.
March 4th.
March 4th, yeah, so next week.
So that is the Foam Stars news. If you're into Foam Stars, look forward to that Seasons Pass. That is cool stuff. Now something I should have talked about when we had Rise of the Ronin up. I quickly want to briefly touch over this while I was reading the article. This game is starting to sound more like Ghost of Tsushima. So look at these combat styles. You essentially have these different styles you use for different ad types. And there's like 3 or 4 different styles. So it's shaping out to me feel a lot like that Ghost of Tsushima combat. But yeah, I just wanted to jump into that and let people know that PlayStation has gone in depth exploring what the combat will be like. So it is a fun read through if you are interested in the game. Go over grappling, long range weapons, and different combat styles, which to me sounded a lot like Ghost of Tsushima.
Yeah, it was something I thought throughout the gameplay reveal at the State of Play earlier this month. A lot of what they were saying felt ripped directly from Ghost of Tsushima, but this is a Team Ninja game, so it is more in that Soulsborne type level of difficulty, and there is a lot more theology and mythology that is put into these things than in Ghost. Ghost was very much a human story, whereas this is going to be very much a mythological story. So I think it's going to be good. There is no problem with taking a fantastic combat system and doing something with it to make it your own. The Ghost combat system's phenomenal. I absolutely adore it. I am glad it's being adopted by another Shonen Ronin samurai type game. Just throw in that added level of difficulty and you've got something that feels like the perfect mid ground between Ghost of Tsushima and Sekiro. So I'm all for it. Bring it on.
I am as well. More Sekiro is right up my alley. And Ghost of Tsushima has brought that realism back to Earth. So a good mix between the two, I think, will make for a lot of fun, especially with 4 people co-op. It's gonna be sweet.
Yeah.
Everybody who's interested in the game coming out tomorrow, we have Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. We have Tifa and Aerith there, sporting off some skin. This game is has a culture of its own. But if you're curious in the remake, which is the first part of the game, and replaying it, you'll come across a little Easter egg which was updated, and that is Aerith's changed dialogue at the end. So I won't play it for you here because, spoilers and all that stuff, and this is the very end of a game. But if you are curious in finding out what Aerith has said differently, be sure to check out the new update to the game. Now, you don't have to go and beat it all just to hear 1 or 2 different dialogue lines. I would suggest just looking it up on YouTube. But if you're curious, an update has been made. And again, I've never heard of people going back and updating a game's ending freaking 4 years after the game released. It boggles my mind how much of
This is a
a
unique
passion project this
one.
is.
Yeah, it's a very unique situation. The original game has been around for 30 years plus at this point. If I can do maths, I don't know. It might be 28 years. It's been around a long while anyway. So there's a lot of love for it, and there was a lot of not so much outcry, but questioning and theorizing when the first game in the remake trilogy released of, whoa, this ending's different than what we got in the original. Where are we going with this? And it could just be a case of they have now made this rebirth section of it, so the middle section of the trilogy, realize the story's going in a slightly different way than they were initially anticipating, and just to make it canonically make sense, they've had to go back and patch in slightly different dialogue. By the sounds of things, it doesn't change the ending wholesale. It's just little hints, little nudges that are that little bit different.
Yeah. It's a passion project, and the amount of commitment that goes to crafting dialogue and little things like this has just gone far and above any game that I thought was possible. Neil J asks a great question. Two Sons being out today. Yeah, so that is on the list, and that is a remake. Brother, A Tale of Two Sons is released today. I mean, I thought this would have been, bigger front page. But yeah, if you want to check out the remake on PS5, you can check it out today. I was not too familiar with the title, although I do know that it does have a bit of a following and the IP is strong. Also, I have a little brother, so I remember the story a bit. Anything that you want to say on A Tale of Two Sons, the remake coming out?
Brothers Tale of Two Sons is a great game. It was the first in the series from, I keep forgetting the development team's name, but they made It Takes Two, they made A Way Out, they made a Brothers, A Tale of Two Sons prior to that. They make these two-player co-op experiences. Brothers was slightly different. You could play both sides of it yourself, and each analog stick would control a different character. It was
505 games.
really 505, yeah. It was really, really well done. It was a really good game. And similar to yourself, I have a younger brother, so there was an emotional connection to this prior to even playing the damn thing. It was great when it came out. Having it easily accessible on modern hardware is a great thing, because I think it was PlayStation players, the PlayStation 3 generation of consoles. So most of those can't be played on current gen. So great for those who've never experienced it, great for those who have experienced it and want to re-experience it on modern hardware. It's just a great game. It really is. It's not going to be winning any Game of the Year experiences now with how much mechanics and such have moved on, but for its time and to be readily accessible, brilliant news.
Cool. Cool. Brother, A Tale of Two Sons. So the remake. Well, some people call it the remake station instead of PlayStation 5, right?
Feeling that way a little bit
Lastly,
recently, isn't it? Yeah.
yeah. Lastly, speaking of remake, and I wanted to bring this one up because it was Night Dive Studios, and I say this because if anyone remembers Stadia in the audience here, this whenever I see Night Dive Studios, that means it probably would have come to Stadia if Stadia was alive now. They are remaking a classic. Oh my gosh, when I saw the clip of this, it felt like one of those old Doom shooters. The Dark Forces is remastered for the classic catalog. I mean, working at Night Dive Studios must just be a lot of fun because you're just remaking these old classics. And if you're an arcade junkie, I mean, it's just got to be a blast.
I imagine it is. It's the sort of fun project where it's not full out work because you're not having to storyboard and build assets from scratch and make the engine do what you need it to do and what have you. But you're making games that are beloved by most likely yourselves and a bunch of other people and making them good for modern audiences. I think that could be a very fun experience. I'm not sure it'd be a long-term experience for many developers, but it's a great place to cut your teeth. Really good
Yeah.
place to start out in.
All right. Well, now is my big news. So, people, if this may be on more of the rumorish side, but I am super excited for this one. All right. I don't know if you've heard of this before, but apparently they're making a live action Bloodborne movie. Okay, I am blown away. If Sony is making a Bloodborne movie, it will be so good. It will be so amazing. I mean, the story that is in that game, the the suspense, the power that as long as it's nobody that's involved with Madam Web touches this movie, it will be great.
Oh man, Madam Web is one of those. It was butchered on the editing floor. By the sounds of things, there was a lot more to that movie. It's like the Snyder Cut actually made Justice League phenomenal. So I feel like we're in a very similar situation with Madam Web from everything that's coming out from folks who've worked on it. But a Bloodborne movie could be very good. It could also set the fan base alight. There are so many people who have played Bloodborne who do not understand what that story is because it's not just handed to you up front. You have to experience the world, you have to find your lore entries and come across the story in that way. So I think it could be quite polarizing depending how much of the story people who've played the game have actually experienced. It could be great for those who have played the game, hate really difficult experiences, but still want to know what happens. I think it could be great for those who do understand the story as long as they stick close to the source material. It all depends how they do it. We've seen PlayStation adaptations go both ways. The Uncharted movie for Uncharted fans was absolutely terrible. I don't know why that was greenlit and done the way that it was. But then from the same studio, The Last of Us was phenomenal. So yeah, it's one of those. It could go either way. I would try and remain as neutrally excited as you possibly can for this one.
Yeah, I know. We're in the early developments. Adam Wingard is set to or being scouted apparently to direct the film. He's directed films like Blair Witch Project, which kind of gives you the vibe they're going to want to go down for this movie. Now, I know this is big rumor conspiracy, like, oh, it may not happen. But I think this would line up perfectly with a remake. Apparently, the remake was in development but was canceled at one point, which broke a lot of people's heart. But I could see this. As the interview with Miyazaki continued, he said there needs to be a bigger generational leap for the remake to have as big of an impact. So that means we're slated towards something of PS6 as well as a simultaneous release on PC. I think we would see a lot of success with the movie releasing at the very same time. This is all a perfect Sony recipe to put these ingredients together to make money if they can get it together because this is a golden plan in my mind.
Yeah, it could be great. Like you say, cross marketing, the remake having to be a generational leap. I appreciate that. Like, there's too many remakes we get or remasters that we get that are very hard to tell any difference
Last of
in.
Us Part 2.
So yeah, there are challenges to doing it, and I appreciate that if he was going to do it, do it right, sort of thing. In the meantime, just stick out a 60 FPS patch, and most people will be happy.
I agree. Give us that 60 FPS patch, but damn, that game is good. Well, that is our show for this week. Dorgon, what have you got going on your channel?
So I'm currently in script writing mode, so there's nothing new going up anytime soon. So if you want to watch any of my previous videos, that would be very much appreciated. There is a Portal review up there, so if you want to see it from like first 2 or 3 weeks sort of situation, there's a PSVR2 review up there after 6 months with it and so on. So anything that you want to watch on my channel, I would be very appreciative of, and then I will pass you over to my beautiful co-host, who will tell you where you can find him and what he's up to.
Yes, Rudigs, Rudiggz, YouTube, Twitter, and Threads, which Threads was actually outdoing Twitter's downloads, if you can believe it or not. Crazy how that platform is picking up. But you can find me tonight on Family Game Night on the Rudigs channel, as well as Cloud&Console will be bringing more content this week, so look out for the download on Friday, and Cloud&Console's Cloud Gaming Podcast on Sunday. Until then, remember, do the math, because the subscriptions may not work for you. Dorgon taught me that in his last video. Check it out. Until next week, we will be back on Wednesday with more Super PlayStation Bros, keeping you guys up to date. But until then, be kind and bring peace into the world.
Take care, guys. Bye.
Grove. 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 Why try to believe in me? Why try do I even need to? I die with the season leaves. I glide with the season